Yes, ma'am. They're recorded via YouTube.
For posterity, whatever that means.
Yes, ma'am. They're recorded via YouTube. If you're getting my feedback, I apologize. Let me turn off my mute. Yes, ma'am. They're recorded via YouTube. If you're getting my feedback, I apologize. Let me turn off my mute. YouTube's engaged. I have it muted, so it's not picking up what we previously said. So whenever you are ready to convene the meeting, Mr. Rivera, all of the requirements are in place.
Thank you. And do we have any members of the public?
Not currently.
Okay, great. Okay, but we are on live, and good morning, everyone.
We do have 4 people watching via YouTube, but they are not logged in to make public comments.
Great. Okay, so it is now 9:14, and I will call the meeting of the Texas Board of Law Examiners to order. Board members, welcome. We continue in this pandemic time to meet video conference wise, although we may talk about that in a bit during the meeting. That's on the agenda. We are meeting via Zoom as authorized by order of the Governor Greg Abbott that suspended certain rules of the Texas Open Meetings Act. And so as long as we're in this, even though, to be clear, there was some recent activity in that regard, some opening up, if you will, of other areas of life in the state of Texas. Governmental agencies continue to be allowed to meet this way. And so until that changes, we're here. But like I say, we'll have a chance to talk about that. It's good to see everyone. And we have a quorum. We have full attendance, as always, usually. And so I'm happy to see you guys all here. First item on the agenda, these are agenda items that were posted to our Dropbox accounts during the week by Ms. Gonzalez. We have approval of minutes and certified agendas. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? I don't have the list in front of me. I'm sorry, of what we have to approve. Let me see here.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
I would like to let the board members know that we did send out some minutes for waivers, and I sent those out pretty last minute, and so we do have some of those that we were able to get into the materials for this meeting, and then the rest of them will be in the materials for the next meeting.
I see. So what we had, I guess.
I'm sorry. Also, there are accommodation review committee notes as well.
Right. I see. We've got 2 ARC accommodation review committee sets of minutes in the board book. And then there were additional minutes. Did everyone have time to look at what Nadia was sent out or supplemented? If yes, if you didn't and you're uncomfortable with moving forward, please let me know. But I see some heads nodding, and so I would be happy to entertain a motion at this time to approve the minutes that have been presented to us at this point on certified agendas.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you.
I
Mr.
second.
Mr. Soltero, thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye or raising your hand on the screen, please. Thank you. No members of the public are present. Is that correct? Ms. Gonzalez?
That is correct. We do not have any members of the public in the waiting room at this time.
Very well. And this was, again, for the public, these meetings are posted publicly as we're required to do under law with the Texas Secretary of State's website. And so it's out there. I think it's also on our website. Is that correct, Ms. Wong?
Actually, we are not in the habit of posting the notices on our website. We could certainly start doing that if the chair would like us to.
I think that would be good. We just posted it on a regular basis. People traffic our website occasionally, and it'd be a good. I think it'd be a good thing to keep that on our website as well.
Mr.
Um,
Rivera, would you like me to
yes.
include that? When I post to the Secretary of State's website the week prior, would you like me to also post that to the website as part of that process?
Yes, the agenda.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. All right, then we'll move on to the good stuff. Mr. Shaheen is on and he's prepped. And thank you, Ms. Giltner, the Finance Committee under the able leadership of Ms. Giltner. And let me see, Mr. Massey's on that. And who else is on the Finance Committee? Remind me, I'm sorry. Miss Orr. And I know we have one other board member, Miss Ellis. So y'all were hard at work this morning. That pushed us a few minutes, but this is always important stuff. And of course, you were meeting with Mr. Shaheen and Ms. Wong. So, Mr. Shaheen, you're up on the agenda, sir. And if you could give us your report.
Yes, sir. We'll start with the investment report today. And this will be for, this is one of those quarters where it's going to be off from the financials that we discussed. The investment report is for February 28th, 2021. And as of, which is the end of the second quarter of the fiscal year. For that period, the board had a total of $1,712,211.89 worth of share certificates and certificates of deposit. In addition to that, we had money market funds of $1,865,484.70 for total investments of $3,577,696 and current period income of $7,132. Notably, we had two CDs roll over, or share certificates and CDs roll over for this period. And as you can see from the report, the rates that we're getting on the rollovers are basically 1/5 of what the share certificates and certificates of deposit were carrying prior to that. Overall, for the current year, I don't think that's going to have much of an effect, but obviously next year for budgeting purposes, as these roll over, we're going to be seeing significantly less income for that particular cycle. Any questions on the investment report?
Any questions for Mr. Shaheen on the investment report?
Okay, we can move on to the variance report. And this will be for the period ending January 31st, 2021. Obviously, we had bar exam at the end of February and then at the beginning of March again. And so there were a number of expenses that have not come in at this point. And that's why we're not going to be discussing February at this point.
Okay.
But net income for the current year was of $1,018,550, or excuse me, $1,018,551 was forecast for the current report period. Actual results reflect net income of $1,302,721, and this is a positive variance of $284,178, or approximately 28%. Now, fee revenues came in over budget at this point by $339,927, or 12.1%. And this is true for basically almost every single fee category, with the exception of retakers, which is 0.03% negative. And because of the constantly evolving nature of the current year exams, including deadlines, it's really difficult to determine at this time if this is anything but a timing difference. The only exception to this is attorneys without exam, or AWOX applicants, are up by 80 applications for the current year. And excuse me, looking forward to the end of February, they're up by 125. And I've looked back several years to see if this might be a timing difference, but it really is an increase in out of state. So I guess says something to the appeal of moving to Texas and practicing law.
Yeah, I don't know what it says, but I do have an operational question. If I
Sure.
can put a tangent on this, a tangential question, Ms. Wong. So our practice is for AWOX applications, you submit your application and you pay your fee before you have the application actually considered, correct?
Correct.
And in the event that the application is denied, is there an expectation that they get a refund or not?
Now, the court's rules are pretty clear that the application fee is not refundable. And so that's why we do really encourage people to make sure they're eligible before they apply.
And the application fee is $1,000.
I think it's, was it 890?
It's 890. It's 890 total.
Yeah. So I bring that up because there was an issue yesterday in one of our waivers where someone had filed an application and then said, but if you're going to deny it, then I'd like to get a refund. And so I don't know. I don't bring it up for wide board discussion now. I just wanted to raise it as a point.
Mhm.
for
If
future
we do,
discussion.
so they can always ask for a refund through the fee waiver process, but they would have to show good cause.
Right.
Good cause might be that, I was denied before you did very much investigation. So.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Just something to think about. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Shaheen.
No, that's
I
fine.
think maybe it's a trend.
So it sure looks like a trend at this point.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Employee comp and benefit is slightly under budget year to date, but that's probably going to flatten out as we go forward because, with the staffing changes that we've had, I think early on we incurred more payroll costs than we anticipated. And then less for a couple of months and then probably less for one more month. And, I think we'll come out pretty good by year end on that. Professional fees is probably one of our biggest variances at this point. And it's due primarily to exam graders we've spent considerably more money than budgeted. I think perhaps for the first couple of exams, we actually didn't budget quite enough money. But for the current and upcoming exams, it's going to get at least worse for February. We just processed for ILG, did some electronic grading on exams that they weren't getting laptop fees for. And so I think we had about a $53,000 bill for that. That was obviously not anticipated because last year we couldn't anticipate that we'd be doing electronic exams up through February. Travel and training is obviously under budget, and that's going to be a positive for us throughout the year. Since we're not attending exams, and that's the biggest travel as well. The board members have not been traveling for board meetings or panel hearings. Other operating expenses are over budget by $35,000, and again, I think that straightens out. After the February exam, we incurred a lot more costs for proctors for the September exam than anticipated. A good part of that was because we had to use a employment service and paid considerably more for that. But given the state of affairs, I don't think there was any way of avoiding that and actually getting enough proctors as would have been necessary without it. Rentals and leases is under budget at this point. And obviously, again, because exams, space rental was reduced, at least to a certain degree, by having the online exams. And that's basically it.
Thank you, Mr. Shaheen. Any questions for Rod on what he's reported or what you've heard? Ms. Gildner, I'll ask you if you have anything to say just from the Finance Committee's perspective.
Well, in the Finance Committee, we discussed the annual audit or the going out for bid for an auditor. And traditionally, we've done that every 3 years. We will still do that in 2021, but we've decided to delay it until the fall, just
Okay.
due to timing and pandemic issues. So
Okay, thanks. I think, Rod, that's your next item. Is that right? Did
Which
you-
is,
The solicitation of a 3-year contract for an annual budget audit.
yeah, and I think Teresa just pretty much covered that.
Okay, so there you go. So we're putting that on hold for now until the fall.
Yeah, we've
Yes.
decided that we'll do the bid early in the fall at the beginning of the fiscal year, as opposed to waiting until later in the year when it might, be more of a scramble to try to find somebody, give us more of an opportunity to reach out. And I apologize for my hoarseness, but they talked me hoarse in the finance committee meeting.
You're excused. You sound fine. I did notice you taking a couple of extra sips of water, so hang in there. Well, I won't.
I don't usually get the opportunity to talk too much in my house.
April's still muted. You're lucky. But Rod, thank you as always. Very thorough. I think I understand where we're at, and I'm a non-finance person. Does anyone have any questions for Rod or for Ms. Giltner? If not, thank you, sir. We'll appreciate your help with all of this, and it'll continue to be crazy for a while, but it's soon enough we'll get back to normalcy. Okay, moving on then to agenda item 5. Ms. Wong, I think I didn't want to steal thunder or get in your way. I think it would be appropriate for you to introduce the new face that we have on our Zoom at this time.
Yes.
If I may suggest before you get into your report.
Yes, let me start with that. So we have hired a new director of admissions. We've changed the title from director of eligibility and examination to director of admissions. And Michael Sullivan is now sitting in my old office. And he started with us on Monday, and he has already just been a huge help. Michael comes to us, he's sort of like an attorney plus. So he started out at West Point, graduated from West Point, had a career in the Army, and then worked for the Army in a civilian capacity as a strategic, what was your title, Mike?
Strategic planner.
Strategic planner. He did that full time while he was going to law school at St. Mary's, and graduated from St. Mary's and took our bar exam in 2018 at the George R. Brown Convention Center, one of our very first, maybe our first consolidated February exam. And we're just so delighted to have him on board. So I do.
Yeah. Teresa and I had the opportunity on behalf of the board to welcome Mike earlier this week. And Mike, I'd like to invite you to say a few words, but before you do, if you're going to say anything about the bar, remember that the authors of the bar exam questions that you answered are on this call. So just don't be too critical about any of the essay questions.
Oh, no, sir. It's funny you mentioned that. I have to be truthful here. Actually, those questions went through my head when we were just talking about it, how challenging they were on the February 2018 bar. Fair, but challenging. But I'd just like to thank everyone for another introduction. And I'm just trying to, pick up a paddle and start rowing, and prove that I'm actually tech competent, as I stated in my interview. Maybe not tech savvy, but there's a lot of systems to learn in this job. So I'm just picking up the paddle and trying to get, rowing in the proper direction. So anyways, I'm proud to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome, Michael. And thanks for not complaining about the board members who called the 2018 bar exams in Houston, two of whom are actually on this Zoom conference right now.
Right.
All right, so I'll be here at least 1 week. I haven't. We won't fire me today, at least. Huh?
That's right. No, you appear to me to be one who knows when to tread lightly, and you're doing a great job. So
yeah, and I'll second your motion to put fair but challenging as our new tagline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Well, welcome. Okay, Ms. Wong.
All right, well, I think that the next order of business is to discuss our calendar, and we do, I have, it's not on the calendar, but I have communicated with everybody about our grading schedule for February and March. We are on track to start regrades this weekend. We will talk about that a little bit later. And then the March graders have already started. So the March grading is underway, and our plan is to release the February scores in mid-April, which is significantly early than usual. And this is in accordance with the court's direction for us to try to get these scores out earlier. Again, this is the first time that we've used the double graders in order to meet that goal. So we'll get the February scores out in mid-April, and then the March scores will be out by early May. And then the State Bar is planning a swearing-in ceremony, a virtual swearing-in ceremony for May 10th. So both the February and March examinees who pass and are ready to get sworn in will be able to participate in that swearing-in ceremony. The only other,
If I can add, our immediate past chair, Mr. Al Odom, will be representing us virtually at that swearing in. And so Al, thank you for agreeing to do that. I don't know if you've done your recording yet. It's a very weird experience, and then to watch the thing, but thanks for doing that.
I had to step out for a minute, but
okay,
you're welcome.
yeah.
All right.
And I do, the virtual swearing in ceremony is very effective. And, you know, I've watched the last couple of them, and it's very effective. I always enjoy hearing from the top scorers. So, you know, it's a real easy way. You can watch it on YouTube. It's very short in the virtual arena. And so I think it's definitely worth watching.
Well, but it's still an hour, right?
No, I haven't gotten contacted by the State Bar of Texas yet. So, I don't know. Just
So
waiting.
before we move from the exam grading, I'd like to just talk a little bit about the calibration process. I think it went fine, and we got exam grades that I guess look reasonable.
I think when it comes to grading, maybe we should do that in executive session.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking at what agenda item.
Agenda item 9 is where you keep pointing me to discuss things that are raised during reports.
Yeah, we've got a discussion of the automatic.
Mr. Rivera, it could possibly be under 5H, which is discuss the automatic rebrand aids, which is listed as executive session on the agenda.
Right. Okay. Barbara, let's hold on for a second on that. Okay. And I'll defer to Nadia. Nadia would rather discuss that in closed session because it goes to rating.
No, I think it's definitely something that we should discuss, since this was our first time to do it. So I'm glad that you brought it up.
Okay.
So as we all know, the governor has lifted the statewide mask mandate. He has not lifted the relaxation of the open meetings rules, so that we are able to continue, meeting virtually for now. And our general counsel, Sierra Parks, is monitoring that for us, and will keep us posted. But for now, we can fulfill the public information requirements virtually. I have told staff that we're going to continue to work from home. A lot of our staff hasn't been vaccinated yet. A lot of our staff is dealing with other effects of the pandemic, such as schools not being open. And actually, some of our staff is still recovering from the weather event. So we're going to continue working from home, and we're going to revisit that in June. we're going to revisit that. The other calendar, I have decided as executive director that we are going to, as an agency, we're going to actually close in recognition of Juneteenth. It's an optional state holiday, but we're going to go ahead and make it a full holiday for our staff. So you'll see that noted on the calendar. And any other questions about 5A?
Nadia, yeah, couple things. So when Nadia and I were putting this together, board members, I wanted, we have under their remote activities of the board. So I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts on, you know, what you think about when we should look towards beginning to reconvene as a board and having meetings, you know, in-person meetings again. You've heard Nadia say that she's, you know, kind of got it on the timetable where they're going to visit about what happens internally in June. But I mean, open forum. That's why we put it down there, to get your thoughts on what we should be looking for before we get together. Mr. Soltero?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would probably be premature to talk about coming back in person before that June time period. I think still the conditions are concerning enough where, you know, it's not the same as being in person, but these Zoom meetings have worked well. There's still a pandemic situation, and I think the authorities are saying wait until May. And so it seems to me that if we have a board meeting in that June time period, that might be my recommendation would be that we defer the conversation until then, but that's my take.
And I think we have to be really careful because of the variants and the effectiveness of vaccines varying between the variants. I know that nationally, the administration has a goal for us to be able to celebrate COVID independence by Independence Day. So maybe July is a reasonable time frame to shoot for and assess the situation as we have with the in-person bar exams.
Okay. Anybody have any other thoughts? The only other thing I would add is be thinking about this. I mean, we're not, you know, frankly, board meetings can continue this way because I think, Mr. Soltero, you're right. I mean, these are working pretty efficiently. But when it comes to our hearings, our character and fitness hearings, that's a different ballgame. I think every one of us would agree that given the option between meeting this way to evaluate somebody's character is not the same or barely a substitute for meeting in person. So just a thought. I mean, that would involve less of us getting together. But you know, I just wanted to bring that up as something else. But I'm okay. I don't have any different thoughts about it other than what Carlos and Cynthia have said, but I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to weigh in. Okay. So.
Let me just add that it does appear that in July we have 2 sets of hearings or hearing panels. If that still holds true, then I'm not sure what kind of notice requirements we would have to give the hearing participants in terms of making those in person versus via Zoom. But I'm on one of those panels. I would be comfortable in, as things stand now, to have that in July, to have to be in person in July. But you know, it also, if we don't have it in person in July, then we really jump until September.
Right.
So anyway, just something to consider, and you know, maybe Nadia and staff can help us kind of monitor that, because again, I would think it's only fair that we let the applicants or the examinees, whoever they are that we're talking with, and also their counsel, if they're represented by counsel, have that notice if we are going to be in person ahead of time. So
good point. Thank you, Teresa. The only other thing under calendar, Nadia, that I had, we are not board members scheduled for a board meeting in April or May, but I did want to leave open, you know, we've been meeting more frequently during this pandemic than we ordinarily would. And that's just because the circumstances have warranted it. And I think it's helped with continuity, frankly. But we've got, where do you have it? The bar exam coming up. Yeah, you've got safety plans for July 2021. I don't want to jump all the way ahead, but one of the, my understanding is that your recommendation, Nadia, is going to be that we hold an in-person bar exam in July. Or not? Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let's wait on that. All I'm saying is that things are changing, and as Cynthia mentioned, we've got variants of variants, and who knows where we're going to be 30 days from now. So I think that's the way we need to continue to monitor it. So I think I don't have a date in mind, but we may need to meet again in April, and I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that. We won't meet if we don't have to. I love seeing you guys via Zoom, but not that much. And so, but just don't be shocked if we say, hey, we need to meet in April because of something that has to do with the July bar. So I'll wait till you get there. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
All right. And now for the fun part.
Yeah.
And that is to recognize April Shaheen. April has been with the agency for 20 years. So I think she started when she was like 12. So she started as a part-time analyst, and then came on full-time, and now is our senior analyst and has sort of a leadership role with our analysts. A lot of y'all have known her longer than I have, and have seen her kids grow up. Her kids have been helping with the bar exam informally over the years. So we April has taught me a lot about teamwork, about the intricacies of the bar exam, about communication. And so I just have really enjoyed working with you, April, and I know that you're beloved by everybody at the agency. So I would like to honor you and to open the floor up to anyone else who may want to speak. We do have a gift for you. And
where's Rod going?
Yeah.
Why is Rod leaving?
Rod is going to deliver the gift.
Okay, beautiful, great. I was like, wait, don't leave, man.
Now she knows where to look for the Christmas present too.
I thought he was walking off because he's like, I got nothing. Thank you.
All right.
I Thank you. I've had a blast working for the board. I mean, it's my family, so I love all of you guys.
Well, selecting this gift was a group effort. So we did, but I think it was selected by people who know you well, not just Rod. So I hope you like it.
Oh, I'm sure I will. Okay, I got the dog in front of me now. He thinks it's food.
Nice job, Rod.
One's a glass. Oh, that's so pretty. It's got the logo. Thank you. Do what?
Drinking glasses, is that what that was? Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
Nice.
Yes, it's got the Board of Law Examiners etched in it. Well, Rod did give me for one of our anniversaries personalized glasses, and I won't tell you what those were. He didn't say the Board of Law Examiners.
He's blushing.
Yeah, he is blushing.
She actually loved those glasses until I told her to read what's actually on it, and it said for 20 years of service. It was our anniversary.
These are beautiful. Thank you. Let me see if I can hold it up. So it's just jewelry, and I love jewelry. Everybody knows that. So thank you. I'm very, 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 very thank
Congratulations.
You. Good job,
Thank
April.
you.
Well done.
Thank you, April.
And all of us have had the opportunity to work with you directly, and for those of us that have had the privilege of watching you in bar exam mode, you are definitely a field general when it comes to that, and you inspire a lot of confidence, and so thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Mike, anytime you need any, if you want to reach out to me for, helping out with things at the bar exam, you know where to go. Just right down the hall.
Thanks. All
I
right.
just can't wait to get back into the office. That's the one thing I'm really looking forward to, is to seeing everybody back in the office. So
Better days are ahead. Better days are ahead, and we'll celebrate proper when we're able to get together. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. On to the less fun stuff.
Yeah. I do have, so general agency operations, I do have another announcement. So we do have Mike Sullivan is with us. We've already talked about him, and he honestly already has just taken so much off of my plate in just the 4 days that he's been here. So the other news is that Lynn Bradshaw, our staff attorney, has decided to leave us. She said that an unexpected opportunity has presented itself, and for personal reasons that she feels like she wants to pursue that opportunity. So she is going to finish out the big cases that she has. She has something scheduled for April 9th, but she's really going to focus, wrapping up those 3 cases. So we are going to go ahead and hire another staff attorney as quickly as we can. Sierra and Allison and I have been talking about it, and I think we're going to post this for actually for a full-time position rather than a reduced position. And that's kind of as we're working up a job description, but the job description is going to be sort of what Lynn does, plus helping Sierra with some of her general counsel duties, her testing and accommodation duties, and so it's going to be a big position. We are. I've been talking with Augie about it too, and we are gonna look for Augie, a very mature, seasoned attorney for that position, and so that's where we're at with that. So if you know anyone,
yeah, I was gonna absolutely. Board members, let me ask each of you to think about attorneys you may know. There is no way that a job description can do justice, I think you'll agree with me, to the position and the role and what it entails. I mean, what we do and during our hearings, because they're conducted confidentially in executive session, as we're allowed to do, it's not something like you can say, hey, I know what that involves. And so if you know of folks that you think might be appropriate, there's nothing that prevents us from encouraging them or from pointing out the job notice when it's up. So I know Mr. Soltero's already, been kind enough to look at that. And so, but I'd ask each of you to do that as well.
And I would also note that and from my perspective, I think it's also a position that requires a tremendous amount of work before you get to the hearings. It seems like the presentations are always very well done, and that's largely because of all the hard work that's gone in before that. So, I mean, it is a very demanding position, and I think it'd be great to get somebody who can keep contributing in that way.
Yes, sir, Mr. Odom.
Are we satisfied that 2 attorneys is sufficient given the workload? Or have we ever considered whether we may want more than 2? We've always had 2.
Good question.
Yeah.
Ms. Wong?
That is a really good question. I do know that Susan had been looking into that, and because we would like to do, I think, more work with our declarants rather than just our successful examinees. At this time, I think it's definitely worth us looking into, but we're going to just start, I think, just with one more attorney. We do also have the legal assistant position, which is a new position.
Right.
But I think that will free up. But yes, I think we can and ultimately do want to move more cases through the hearing process.
I think it's really important too to note that the person needs to be able to deal well with pro se litigants. That's a real dicey and unusual component of this position.
I think I hear Mr. Odom saying that, maybe it's another legal assistant. In other words, you've got some direction here from us that figure out what staffing you think we need, and then let's talk about it. And if you think another attorney or another legal assistant, however, because I do like the idea of trying to address the CNF issues as early as possible. And so anyway, good points. Appreciate.
Yeah, excellent points. And I will just say that the character and fitness side of the agency is newer to me. So I might be a little bit slower to make decisions and offer opinions. But I hear you. And
well, we've got Ms. Drish on. So Allison, any weigh in or input?
I think that what we've seen is that our character and fitness cases are getting more complicated, which takes more time both on the investigative side and then attorney assistance on that end, as well as the hearing preparation. So I think it's definitely worth considering adding a third attorney. Just my 2 cents.
But just to clarify, aren't we going from 1 3/4 attorneys to 2 now? So we are making an increase already. And frankly, when Bruce was there, we didn't really have a full attorney. So, I mean, in terms of work effort. So I think with proper work effort, 2 attorneys, in my opinion, is probably enough at this point. But
yeah. And of course, the other thing to balance is, the board time, the time that board will spend doing hearings as well. So we will have to balance both of those.
Well, and another factor in terms of the timeliness of getting 3 cases through, the applicants have to provide the information. And I think sometimes the issue is not at the board side. The slow part of it is getting the applicants to do what they're supposed to do. So.
Allison, was there something else? I'm sorry, you were going to.
The only thing I was going to add is that just a little bit of historic information. When the board first started, there was just one attorney. It was Bruce Wyatt. He was the single attorney. The second position was added, and I believe that it actually was added as a full-time position. And then Kristen Basinger had said she believed she could do it in 3/4 time, and that's when it became a 3/4 position. So just historical knowledge.
I appreciate that. That's good to know. But to your point, I think that's a very astute observation. And you've been doing this longer than any of us on the character and fitness side. And if you sense that the cases or the issues are more complicated, I can tell you from the ones that we dealt with yesterday. Yeah, that's it's like, wow, really? So all those are factors to keep in mind as you go forward, and let's see how this works out. Okay.
Okay. The other kind of general agency operation that we're facing is that Al Odom's position is coming to a close, and so.
Are we sure about that?
Well, his term is.
The term is. Nadia and I have been. Yes.
Isn't there a pandemic exception for that? Don't you get to keep going?
Well, actually, Augie's asked me to look into those sorts of issues. Yeah.
We're looking into that. Let's just say that it is not time to give Mr. Odom wine glasses or jewelry and to bid him adieu. Let's just put that on hold. Put that on hold, and we'll get back to you on that. But we're looking at terms and And
Well,
Alfred, you raise an excellent point. I mean, pandemic has put lots of things in a weird state for a month, almost in a, static.
And we're doing that with respect to looking out, putting in the audit out for RFP. So there's some precedent to carry over.
Yep, absolutely.
I
So-
also think we ought to look at that question more broadly, because this job's not an easy job to learn to do. And I really think we ought to look at whether there should be an extension of that. There's no precedent that a Board of Law examiner, I mean, a lot of people, there's a lot of attrition because it's a very hard job to do. And it's kind of grueling, but it's really important work. And I think you get a better feel for what character and fitness is and all of that, and have better relationships with the NCBE and then get a better feel for how to advise the examinees that are not successful, what they need to do in the future. I just think we ought to, at least at some point in the future, put that on the agenda and get the sense of the Supreme Court about this board being not so finitely term limited, or if they should be term limited at all. I really think attrition might take care of a lot of that.
Well, we, as I said, Nadia and I are actively looking at that. In fact, we met about it and talked about it this week. And the next step would be to consult with our court liaison. So just hang on. All of your points are very well taken. Almost about the uniqueness of the job, frankly, and what we're required to do. And so each and every one of you, if I can brag on you are all absolutely committed to this, and I appreciate your service more than I can say in words. And look, I'm right there with you. I know what it takes. And we had an amazing stress test last year, like everyone else, and here we are. Nobody jumped ship. So thank you. The ship's still sailing forward, and everybody's still on it. So Mr. Odom, don't get out of that chair just yet. So, but we'll see. I mean, Nadia's right. The term is coming up. That there was some tweaking of that particular statute. It's in the government code that changed the term date, the end of term date, to May 31st. But again, looking at it. So
somebody ignored that in scheduling hearings.
I'm sorry?
Somebody ignored that in scheduling hearings because it looks like I'm set for June and November.
Well,
I thought it was August 31st, so, but.
Susan made that change when we were writing exam questions, and she
Right.
wanted to have a new person in there. It's really not a change that we need anymore.
That's a good point.
I agree.
That's a good point.
So, but unfortunately, there it is. And so, but we'll deal with it. We know a couple of people in the court. So anyway, okay. Ms. Wong?
All right. So we have included some articles of interest that they do deal with supervised practice, with online education, and also with the virtual hearings. There's really, so that's just sort of background information that we're putting up there for you to just to kind of keep track of. Get back to my agenda here. The complaint resolution report, you'll see a lot of those complaints had to do with the February bar exam. And, people were really concerned about the exams, but I think that the March makeup exam sort of addressed all of their complaints. And then a couple other complaints that we've responded to that you can take a look at there. Administratively determined waiver decisions. Susan did have everything really caught up, and we've managed to stay on track. And so we are taking care of the fee waiver requests as they come in pretty timely. So those are there for you to look at. Report on the February and March bar exams. So I talked a little bit about this earlier. So for February, we had about 1,000 examinees, and we had, these are very rough numbers, and we had about 200 examinees for March. And we had also, I would guess, about 200 people who just deferred to July, just didn't want to deal with it and deferred to July. So our July exam might be a little bit bigger than normal. We have gotten our MBE scores back from the NCBE for February, and it does look like the pass rate, the MBE scores are significantly higher than last February. So we'll see. There's a lot of guesses about why this is. I think a lot of it has to do with the 200 folks who decided to defer to March. So we'll see how that all plays out. Any questions about those two exams?
Any questions, board members?
Just to let you, my Inns of Court, there was a judge's clerk who took the exam and said something about a vacuum cleaner going off in a hallway, and I just thought,
Cynthia,
that is it is true that we don't have control over the conditions that the examinees take the bar exam in. Even the hotels that we offered them, things like that would happen. And that is one of the drawbacks of doing it remote versus in person. The other drawback is when people do have computer issues, is just 9 times out of 10, we can't help them. So we did have a couple of examinees who just weren't able to finish the exam because of computer issues that we couldn't address, that we would have been able to address in person. But I also feel like there's fewer of those issues, that the examinees are more comfortable with the remote process, and there's just fewer of those issues. So. All right, and we'll talk more about the grading and the calibrating
in executive session.
Yeah. All right, and the regrades. The next thing that we do need to figure out is how we want to do the regrades for the February bar exam, whether we want to keep the expanded regrade band that we had in place for the pandemic, and then how we want to address regrades now that we're grading on a 6-point scale instead of the 25-point scale for the essays.
So at this time, then, unless there's an objection, board members, we will go ahead and move the meeting into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 552.122. And we may as well throw in there also 551.071, which allows us to confer with our general counsel to the extent that there are legal issues for the purpose of discussing the regrade bands and other grading issues that are considered confidential by law. The time is 10:06, and the board will be moving into closed session at this time.
Chair Rivera, which
Yes.
staff members would you like to also be moved into the private meeting room for executive session?
I believe Ms. Wong and Ms. Parks. would be
Mr. Sullivan.
appropriate. And Mr. Sullivan. Do you need any other senior staff in here, Ms. Wong? Okay.
Okay. One moment, please, while I create the breakout room. Ms. Wong, would you like Kai Strunk as well?
Yes, thank you.
Please include Kai. Yes, thank you, Lori. Laurie, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and are we public again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the board is coming out of closed session at 10:09 to more fully address what we are going into executive session to discuss. And so, again, at this time, it is 10:10. And the board at this time will go into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 552.122, as well as 551.071, to discuss grading issues, including the regrade issue, and to confer with our attorney on legal matters. We are also going to go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 82.003, concerning proposed orders coming out of informal settlement conference panels. So as I said, time is 10:10, and we will now go into closed session.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
may I also ask if we should take up the litigation report questions if we
Yes.
have to at that time?
Yes, that's what I meant by 551.071, to try to keep it more general.
Okay. Thank
Yep.
you.
Mr. Rivera, I will be including Ms. Drish in the private meeting room since y'all will be discussing proposed orders as well for this go round.
Okay,
Okay,
that works.
let me. Okay. Mr. Sullivan, do you need to be returned to the private meeting room, or are you, have you been dismissed from the executive session?
I'm dismissed from the executive session. Thanks.
Thank you. For anyone watching on YouTube, this is to notify you that we are still in executive session. The meeting is underway, but closed to the general public until resumed in open session.
Ms. Gonzalez, you with us?
I am, sir.
Okay, I see on my monitor that we are live on YouTube, so we are back in the public.
Ms. Giltner has not yet returned from the, I stand corrected. All board members are present for the meeting, sir.
Okay. And we're legit to move forward.
Yes, sir.
We're in open session again. Okay, so we are reconvening the meeting of the Board of Law Examiners. By my clock, it is 11:15. We're back in open session. And at this time, Ms. Wong, do you have any recommendations for the board?
When it comes to the regrade band for the February and March exams, I do recommend that the board maintain the regrade band that it had put in place in response to the pandemic and simply convert it over to the UBE scale.
Okay. Board members, you've heard the recommendation. Any action proposed? Mr. Odom? Mr. Odom's moved to accept the recommendation. Mr. Massey has seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, board members, of the motion, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand in the screen.
Aye.
Aye. Very well. Thank you all. Was there another motion we needed with respect to the consent agenda?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Okay, so I believe the recommendation of staff, if I can restate it, is to approve the consent agenda as presented in closed session. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in closed session?
So moved.
Ms. McKim moved, Mr. Odom second. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Raising your right hand to the screen. Any opposed? Okay, we are all done. Okay, board members, at this time, we're going to take is a 10-minute break okay? Okay, 10-minute break.
Is it okay if I depart at this point? You still have a quorum, right?
Yes, I was going to acknowledge that Ms. Ellis and Mr. Soltero will be needing to leave. And thank you both. Barbara, thank you. Carlos, thank you all for being here, for your hard work today. And I think that with the quorum that we have, we can finish it. We can finish this out. So
Thank you.
time is
Bye, everybody. Good
11:17.
seeing y'all, especially Michael.
Well, and just for the record, I'm in favor of that last item that's on number 8. So I hope that I know it won't count as a vote, but I think it's a great idea. So
Well, we won't have a vote today,
Okay.
but we've got some information to report and update, and so I'll call you to give you a briefing after. the
thank you
meeting.
so much.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
great.
Thank you, Barbara.
Bye.
Okay, bye now. All right, let's stand in recess until 11:30, team. You can turn your video off. Yes.
My apologies. I did not get the names of the board members who offered the motions regarding the regrade band. Could you provide that to me, please?
Mr. Odom
minute.
made the motion and Mr. Massey was the second.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And the second motion on the consent agenda, Ms. McKim made the motion and Mr. Odom made the second.
Yes, sir. I had that one.
Okay.
I wanted to confirm I had it
Thank
correct in
you.
the minutes. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Thank
I'm noting
you.
the minutes that we're leaving for break.
Okay, Cynthia, can I call you for a quick second? I'm going to call you right now. Okay, board members, if you have, if you haven't turned on your video yet, please do so to show us we're ready to get back with the meeting.
All board members are present, Mr. Rivera, except for Ellison Soltero, who excused themselves prior to the break.
Thank you, and I know you'll make a note of that in the minutes. Thank you, Thank you, Lori. Okay, so board members ready to go back on the agenda. I think Ms. Wong, anything further to add? I mean, do you want to, 5I is I think where we left it before we went into executive session.
Yeah, 5, yes, that is correct. I do have a couple things that I also wanted to go back to for the general agency operations.
Yes.
So, and this has to do with projects that the board needs to work on. And so I just want to kind of get those in the minutes and start getting them on the agenda. One of them is the task force recommendation that the court adopted, told us to give the UBE, and then also advised us to do basically to revisit the minimum score. So this is a big project. This is what is called a standard setting project. It's a big project. It's going to take a lot of time, and so I was thinking that the board might want to consider appointing a committee to actually get started on that now, and to look into that. And this would of course look at what the cut score should be, and how regrades should be handled. Those are sort of the two big topics. The other item that we need to revisit at some point is the informal settlement conferences. And so we want to make sure that that's up there. And then there are several rules that during waiver discussions, waiver panels have asked about the policy behind rules, and whether these rules might need to be, whether we might want to recommend changes to the rules. And some of those have to do with the NPRE, and a couple other things, foreign attorney requirements and UBE practice time requirements. And so.
Number of
these-
times you can take the bar exam.
Yep, that's another one that comes up a lot. So, you know, these are things that are discussed in the waiver panels, but they never really have made it into the board meeting or onto the board agenda. So I just wanted to kind of get those in the minutes. You know, when we get down to number 9, the board can do whatever it wants to with this information.
Well, well, thank you, Ms. Wong. And we've talked about some of these, and I've got thinking going on. And here's what I propose we do. I'd like to get board members. I'm going to be calling on you to assist in a subcommittee format with some of these issues. And so I'll get together with Ms. Wong and see what she thinks, you know, we need to do, how many we need, and I'll be calling you then individually offline. But if any of these projects are something that you'd be interested in, let me know, and then I can more formally, you know, handle appointments at the next meeting. But there's one additional that I'm just now, agenda item 8, that I'm going to be calling on folks to help out with that as well, because I don't want to jump ahead, but we've gotten a proposal here just recently on that, and I want to do some subcommittee study of it as well. So on the ISCs, I will tell you now that I'm the 2 people that I think would be eager to help out with that have just left us. So, you know, Ms. Ellis and Mr. Soltero, I think would be perfect to help out with that, unless there's somebody here has a burning desire to help out with ISCs. But so, you know, be careful when you leave a meeting, because you might end up appointed to something, right? That's the rule. And so, but we can handle that offline. But board members, I want to thank Nadia for bringing that to our attention and telling us that this is what we need to get on our plate and start working on. And like I say, if there's something you're interested in, let me know.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
That it?
Well, and then until we get to the July exam. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So the July exam. So the NCBE has again offered the remote option is available for the July exam. It would again count as a UBE that our examinees could transfer just like any other UBE score. The remote option decision has to be made by mid-May. And so that kind of might factor into whether we want to schedule a board meeting in April or May. You know, I've predicted twice that we can go forward with an in-person exam, and both times we've had to change it sort of at the last minute to a remote exam. Again, I feel like we probably could give an in-person exam safely. Mike is preparing for it. We've got lots of space, but we have more aggressive variants, and I think we all are sort of expecting a surge in Texas for a variety of reasons. The easiest thing would be just to go ahead and decide to do a remote exam and to make that decision now. But we could also defer that decision until later in May. So, you know, that's what I have to offer as far as guidance.
Is a hybrid feasible?
No.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
question, though.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Hence my suggestion earlier that don't be shocked if I think we have to meet again in April. But so board members, I mean, I think Nadia has given it to us straight. You know, that's what we know at this point. I don't blame her for having a broken crystal ball. Mine's been busted too, you know, over the last year. So you can forget about predicting. But I think if I can just weigh in on this, I mean, we know, I mean, who would have thought a year ago that we would be administering the bar exam remotely? Not many, but through a lot of hard work at from a lot of different camps, we've been able to do that, thankfully. But we also hear, you know, somewhat anecdotally from a customer service standpoint that, you know, the consumer would rather take it in person. I mean, you know, all other things being equal in a safe world. So, I don't know. Thoughts? I mean, do we know do any of you know something that we don't, that we can make a more definitive decision today?
The only thing I know is that we'll know more later.
Brilliant as always, Mr. Massey. Brilliant. Yeah.
I think everybody, I think the preference would be for an in-person exam, and maybe that should be certainly the goal going forward at this point, unless and until it becomes obvious that we cannot proceed on that path. So, maybe we make the call in April, or early May.
I don't have a problem with that. Others?
Is that feasible with our building contracts and things of that nature?
Yes and no. I will say in the beginning that the vendors were a lot more liberal with rolling the money forward. They have tightened up their contracts in the age of COVID. And so I think that unless it is prohibited for us to go forward with an in-person exam, then we're going to just run into sort of just good faith negotiations about whether they'll let us roll the money forward again or not, rather than any sort of contract.
So yes and no. Sooner, I mean, the other thing is, and this is important to the extent we have folks out there that are watching that are interested in this. We've said this before. I mean, we understand, we completely get it, that for the examinees, right, that the more certainty we can give them about how this is going to be presented, the better. It reduces anxiety and guessing and all of that. Now, I don't know that we are going to be in the same boat that we were before, where we couldn't even give them a date, right? I mean, that was still floundering around, and that certainly wreaks havoc in your life when you don't know when the bar exam is going to be administered. But still, I think that there are those that feel like, well, I need to, if it's going to be remote, I get psyched up that way. If it's going to be in person, I get psyched up that way. And so the sooner we can make a decision, the better. But Nadia, would waiting until, 30 days in April help?
Well, yeah, and back to Anna's, we haven't actually committed any contracts yet for July. We're penciled in, but we haven't actually signed anything yet. At some point, we're going to have to. But I'm sorry, Mr. Rivera, what was your question?
Just do we have to make a decision today? Do you need to hear from us definitively today, remote or in person, or
no?
Can we, okay.
30 days will be fine. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Odom.
That may have partially answered my question. I just wanted to say, why wait? I mean, we've successfully given it online now. We know what the issues are. We know what the pros and the cons are. Why not just say we're going to do it online one more time, and that way we don't have to worry about what might happen in the next month or two and worry about not signing a contract until this time or whatever. I mean, it just seems to me that we could, if we wanted to, unless there's just some overwhelming benefit to getting it in person, that we want to continue to wait and push it to, the last minute. You can just go ahead and schedule it online.
Alfred, yes, sir.
Just a question, Nadia. We are already accepting applications for the July exam, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they need to know what to expect, or at the very least, the possibility that it'll change if we don't make a decision now. I know Colorado has already announced they're going to be online. Some states, you cannot even under a late waiver even apply for the July bar exam already. So, they're fixed in stone. And so some applicants are going to be trying to figure out, do I want to take this UBE in person or online? And what are my options? And so that kind of weighs into when we make the decision.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Ish.
You may have already discussed this, but there are, I think, 21 jurisdictions that have already announced that they're going to administer it remotely. And that includes California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, some really big jurisdictions.
The big ones.
Yeah.
And I did get a call, sort of an informal call from Florida. They're kind of curious about what we're going to do. as well. So.
I'm also good with, if the board feels we need to go ahead and fix the mode of delivery for the exam in July with that as well. I just tried to lay out all the issues and considerations. And like I say, for me, I from what I've heard, again, don't have a study to back this up, but examinees seem to like the in-person exam better. And I think that from an administration standpoint, having somebody there who has a laptop issue, we can fix it. Whereas if they're home remote, we can't. Those may be minor considerations in the grander scheme of things. It's an open discussion.
Yeah.
Do we have, sorry, Nadia, go ahead.
You go.
Well, I was just going to ask, as far as vaccination options statewide, I know Lubbock just opened it up that anyone who wants a vaccine now can readily find one. And that was just this week that happened. I didn't know if that was still happening statewide though, or if some locations still have age restrictions, because we do have a pretty broad range of examinees as far as age or conditions that might make that available to them.
I think yesterday I saw that next week, anyone over 16 is eligible in Texas. They're moving
to
statewide open access.
Good.
Yeah, that is the governor's mandate is to open it up. Availability is still an issue,
right?
There might be a lot of you might have to chase after it.
Send them to Lubbock.
Ms. McKim, I wasn't going to say this, but I heard a rumor that there were some, let's just say, folks from South America of means that were finding their way to Lubbock, Texas for vaccination.
That has made the news. Also had somebody held up a truck here. So,
well, yeah, I saw that as well. So back to the bar exam. Ms. Wong, how would you like for us to proceed? What do you need from us today? What you want?
Well, I mean, logistically, the easiest thing would be just to say, okay, we're going to go remote, and then that certainty, then we can work with that. However, staff is also fully capable and prepared and planning to plan for the in-person exam and then revisit it as we get closer. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of it. But all things being equal, Mr. Rivera, I absolutely agree with you that an in-person exam is a preference. It's more secure and we can support the examinees better. That is absolutely a preference.
6 to 1, half a dozen the other, right?
Yeah.
So, well, board, I suppose we could entertain a motion to authorize our executive director to make the final call, unless y'all want to make the final call today and give her the discretion to do that, or we could come back and weigh and balance it as
that makes
30 days.
Sense. She's in the best position to make that determination.
Yeah.
We're going to follow her lead.
She's heard from us. She knows exactly how we feel, what the concerns are, and has them herself. And you're right, Ms. Orr, she's the one on the ground, daily viewing this, and frankly, in the best position, given that it pretty much is, either or, that there's no compelling reason one way or the other. I'm okay with that as well. I just throw that as an option.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Odoms made the motion to go ahead and authorize our executive director to make the final decision on remote or in person based on then existing conditions. And how about this, in consultation with the board chair so that there's some board connection. Is that okay, Mr. Odom?
That's fine.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Swan?
Do we have a time stamp on that, when that decision needs to be made? Not to put any pressure on you, but obviously you would know when you would have the contracts at issue, when you would have to, work out things with UBE and everything, NCBE.
So the NCBE's deadline is mid-May. The contractual issues are gonna arise a lot sooner than that.
Right. Right. That was a good point, Ms. McKim. That's exactly right. Yeah. How about if we leave with the timing to be, again, left up to the discretion of the executive director?
That's what I was gonna say. I would leave all of that up to the discretion of the executive director in consultation with the chair.
Okay.
Is that okay, Mr. Massey?
A second.
Okay. Motion been made and seconded. Board members, any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye or raising your right hand in the screen. Thank you. There you go, Ms. Long.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. I will make the right decision.
All right. Anything further under your report?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Excellent report. Ms. Dresch, you're up. Agenda item 6.
I have to pull it up again. We don't have any probationary licensees that are converting this go round. We'll have some next time, but just timing. We didn't have any this time. We've already talked about the consent agenda. Those have already been approved. And the only other thing that I wanted to add, this is just sort of another thinking ahead project, is that staff is looking at the board's character and fitness policies so that we can make some recommendations on potential modifications of those in a future board session. Those policies were all included. I know you've seen them in your initial board training materials. So we're going to look at those the senior staff will look at those as a team and make some recommended modifications to a couple of sections.
Okay. I don't want to over-committee us, but if you need any consultation, Mr. McKenzie, you were involved with that, weren't you, last time, in doing some Scrivener's work on character and fitness?
I think the debt policy was the last time that a modification has really been made, and that
okay.
I think was oh gosh, where is it? Like, not any time recently, but
okay.
Yeah, then I wasn't sure if that was the same policy that we worked on recently that you're talking about.
Okay,
we set up guidelines recently.
Yes,
that's what I remember. Okay. Well, okay. Timing on that, Ms. Trish? I mean,
I think that we'd be able to depend. I would say we'll be ready to present something at the next board meeting, but I'm not sure when that is. So I would say we wouldn't be ready for an April board meeting, but perhaps a June board meeting. We'd be ready to present some suggestions.
Okay, very well. Okay, well, thank you. That sounds great. Looking forward to that. Anything further?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you, Director of Character and Fitness. Next, Ms. Parks, have we taken care of all of the matters you needed to report to us?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Parks. All right, we're down to agenda item 8. Board members, let me give you a little bit of background, and we're not going to take any action on this today, but I do want to give you an update. You'll recall that last fall we were addressed by a group of law professors, a group that has put together a bar exam strategy program in working with California, and they call it the Mindsets in Legal Education program. And I think the PowerPoint was included in your board packet. It's been presented to you before, and as I say, they're led by someone who just coincidentally is connected to me, in that he's from Corpus Christi, Professor Victor Quintanilla, who's a professor at law, Indiana School of Law, is from Corpus Christi, and so we share that in common, and he has pretty much been the leader of the group that includes Professor Sam Ehrman from USC Law School, and then Professor Anita Kim, who's not a lawyer, but who teaches in the psychology department. And they're a group of really smart folks who have come up with a strategy that basically involves working with examinees throughout the course of the bar prep process. And I think right now it's through a series of videos, as I take it, that's part of the program, but they are funded by Access Lex. And implemented the pilot program, I think, in 2018 in California. And last October, they were looking to see whether there was interest on our part. And we were excited. I think for those of you that attended or were able to view the presentation, I mean, I hope you were impressed. We liked it. They put together a proposal, and make a long story short, because of one thing or another that have kept us busy, I don't think it's going to be something that we could come together and implement for 2021. And Nadia and I have been in pretty regular communication about this, given the challenges that we're still facing. I think we're doing all we can just to focus on getting the bar exam administered, you know. But the proposal that we've just received, well, let me back up. I've also been in touch with the group, and last week Nadia and I had an opportunity to meet with them via a Zoom call for an update from them. So the group is expanding. They're going to be adding on Colorado as another jurisdiction in this bar exam cycle, and they really want us to join. And now they've expanded what they're offering us beyond just this mindset program, this bar exam. And the idea is that they would administer this to those getting ready for the bar. They're looking at perhaps associating with us for July 2022. And in addition, they are now asking us if we'd be interested in working with them on a cut score project. Is that correct, Nadia? Did I understand that right? Yeah. They apparently worked with California on that. I'm giving you a pretty high level summary, and I promise you that we'll get into more details here shortly. But they also want to offer that to our jurisdiction. And like I said, they'd be very interested in Texas primarily because, well, just the large number of examinees that we have, and it would add to their project. And so the other thing that they added was that Access Lex has apparently been very generous and has provided them with a lot more money. And so at least initially, these programs would not be at any cost to us, other than, of course, what we would provide them in terms of staff assistance. A lot of details to be worked out, and so I'd like to take it next is, and like I said, we just got this week. In fact, it was on Wednesday. We got their proposal on working with us on these two projects. What I'd like to do is set up a small working group, and I've asked Alfred and Cynthia already to help with that. And unless they give me a thumbs down, meaning they've changed their mind, we'd like to work together with Nadia and staff to be able to present to you a fuller report at our next meeting, and perhaps with a recommendation. And so there's the devil's in the details. I'll just put it to you like that. It sounds great. I think we'd all love to do anything that we can to help our examinees, but at the same time, I think that there's some important issues that we need to work out. Some legal, okay? I mean, this would involve us entering into a legally binding agreement. And so I think that there's more discussion to be had, but with Mr. McKenzie and Ms. Orr helping out, I think we'll be able to present to you more fully next time. In the meantime, I mean, any questions from anyone? Like I say, I'm sorry we're not further ahead on the conversation, but frankly, the update that we just got, circumstances have changed. I mean, and they're presenting us with proposals that would expand, going beyond the original bar exam prep program that they offered us. So, does that sound good? Alfred and Cynthia nodding your heads, yes, that's a go. And so, Nadia, anything else you want to add? You were on the call with me, and
no, I think you summed it up really well.
Okay.
It's an exciting project, but we need to look at it carefully.
Right. So, board members, that's all I have on that. Number 9, any issues that have come up that we haven't discussed that you would like to make a note of and or get put on a future a future board meeting? Okay. I take it by everybody's silence that they, oh yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Massey. Yes, sir.
Just one issue, and we've talked about this before. In a number of the hearings, since we're actually conducting hearings even by Zoom now, and as Ms. Driss stated, the hearings are getting more complicated. I think it would be helpful to the extent we have exhibits for which there's no objection, that we get those as far in advance of the actual hearing as possible, so we can go through them and be prepared to listen as much as possible to the questioning without having to also at the same time review documents.
Duly noted. Did you hear that? Ms. Wong, Ms. Driss, Ms. Parks? Okay, thank you, Mr. Massey. Good point. Anything else, board members? I take it then that you know that it's 12 o'clock, now 12:01, and that y'all have been great today. As always, thank you for the privilege of letting me serve as your chair. This is a great group, and I'm very proud of all of you. Congratulations again, Ms. Wong, on successful administration of a 2-part bar exam. You got nationally noticed, guys, again, in a good way, for going and doing something that, you know, was not predicted, but in the end showed a lot of compassion for these examinees. It showed that we care, and I appreciate y'all. Mike, Mr. Sullivan, welcome. I hope that wasn't too brutal, but we look forward to working with you as well.
Likewise, sir.
All right, with nothing else, you all have my number. Don't be strangers, but until the next time, stay safe, okay? Meeting is adjourned. Take care.